Welcome to Fuller Expectations, the podcast for anyone who feels that the path that they're on just isn't what they wanted or expected to be at this point in their lives. I'm Carrie Fuller, your host, and I am so excited that you took the time to listen in today. That tells me that you are investing in yourself, and that's exactly the type of person this podcast is for. Every week, we're going to have real conversations, share inspiring stories, and offer you the support that you need to create a life that feels aligned with your goals, your passion, and your purpose. A life that's just truly authentically yours. If you're interested in better, you are in the right place. We deserve to live a life that offers us true joy, no matter what age or stage we're in. If you like what you've heard today and thought of someone who might benefit by it, please share this podcast with them. Now let's get right into it. Good morning, or maybe I should say great morning. On today's episode of Fuller Expectations, our guest is Brenda, a woman who has mastered the art of self-care that begins in one of the most important ways with one of the most powerful tools that can impact so many other aspects of your day. Basically, it begins with the morning routine. Why is this so important? Well, listen in and you're going to hear why. Brenda shares how starting her day with intention transforms her stress into calm, it helps reduce anxiety, and it sets the tone for everything else that follows. From her favorite rituals to realistic tips for busy people, you're going to discover that self-care doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. And I'm so excited because we're also going to talk about the difference between self-care and self-indulgence, two very different things. So, if you've ever wondered how to start your day on the right foot, or you're ready to stop hitting the snooze button on your well-being, this conversation will inspire you to create mornings that truly work for you. Let's get started. Welcome, Brenda. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Carrie.
This is going to be a great conversation. We've actually had a lot of people who have sent in feedback about the topic of morning routines. And so it's going to be really exciting to talk about this. And I know that you have established a really fabulous morning routine. So
I have.
super excited to dive into that. Most of us know the feeling of starting the day on autopilot, really. So rolling out of bed, grabbing a coffee, and diving straight into emails or jumping in the car and going to the office and just heading into the responsibilities for the day. And we barely have a chance to breathe. So this conversation is going to be really good for anyone who wants to take a look at what their mornings look like. Most of us already know that we need to make changes, right? So I'm super excited to talk about this conversation with you.
Me too. And if you know me, first of all, I'm a Libra. So structure, balance, I'm all about it. And I'm a firm believer in our signs define who we are, for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Mornings are personally my favorite time of the day. I'm not an evening person at all. So when I get up, I am ready to go.
I feel like I need a morning routine, but I'm a night person. So I tend to jump into getting things done at night. And so that kind of either people are a morning person or a night person, but I think it's trainable, right? I think it's trainable. So even as moms, if you have children, everyone talks about the importance of routines with children, and it helps them stay focused. They do better, they sleep better, they have better days at school if you have established a routine. And the interesting thing with adults is that we get so busy and we get caught up in so many different things. So it's just really, it distracts us and we don't have time for ourselves. And I think establishing a morning routine is all about carving out time for yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's where we all fall short, is that we're just we're on autopilot. We're just going all the time. And so we get out of bed, we grab our coffee, we jump in the shower, we jump in the car, we're in the office, or if we work from home, half the time we're working with our pajamas on because we didn't take the time to even get dressed. So the importance of morning routines is something that, I mean, I myself am not that great at it, and I'm excited to get better at it. So I'm going to learn today from this. And I know so many people are going to learn so much from this. So I would love to talk about the self-care journey and what first led you to establishing a morning routine, or maybe you're the kind of person that's always had one.
So I definitely have always had one. And I will tell you that even like during COVID, I was not that person to work from my pajamas. Even when I work from home now, that's just not me. My morning routine is 7 days a week. It doesn't matter if I'm on vacation. It doesn't matter if I'm going out, working outside of the house, working in the house. I need structure for myself. And it truly just makes me feel better. When I get up and meditate and journal and take a shower and do all the things that I do, it's just a better way for me to start my day. I start my day on a positive note. I feel like I'm more productive. So for myself, I'm a morning person too. So that does make it a little bit easier because, again, it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. I might still get up at 6 or 7 o'clock and do my routine. Whereas I know people look for the weekend to sleep in and whatever. And even if you do sleep in, it doesn't mean you have to get rid of that routine. You know, you might just start it a little bit later or whatever. But for the most part, for me, it really grounds me. And you mentioned before about like checking emails and all of that. I don't. I don't even go on social media in the morning.
Mhm.
So I don't look at my emails. I don't look at any social media. You know, sometimes we have family text messages that might come through every now and again because my mom's up at the wee hours of the morning. But aside from that, I really and truly try not to do those things because I feel like it immediately starts my day off in a negative space. And that's just
Yeah.
a personal thing, right? So for me, I before my feet even hit the floor, I think of one thing every single morning that I'm grateful for. And I open my eyes and I just think, what's one thing of gratitude that I have for today? It could be something as simple as, I'm grateful for the sheets that are on my bed because they're nice and cozy. You know, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. There's just so many things in life, the little things that we're grateful for. So that's like really and truly the first thing I do when I wake up. And
I love that. And anybody can do that.
that's a simple
Anybody
thing.
can do that.
Open
Yeah.
your eyes and just say thank you. Thank you, God, or whoever your higher power is. Thank you, universe. Thank you, whoever. Thank you for allowing me to pay my bills, allowing me to have a roof over my head or whatever, you know, and that's just one positive way to even start your day before your feet even touch the ground. Right. And then from there, I have pets. So I make sure my pets are taken care of. They fed, they go out. And then I come into my meditation room and I meditate. And I do usually a guided meditation and a journal entry right after that. For me, again, it's just a positive way to start my day. I feel grounded right away. And it doesn't have to be long. My meditations are not long. You know, I don't have a lot of time in the morning either. Really. We're all rushing, but I feel like that's 15, 20 minutes. I have 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
Can you talk to me about that? Because I've heard so many good things about that and how it affects your health
it
and how
truly
it's so good for you. So, to the
really is.
person listening who has no idea what meditation is, what do you do? For you? Do you lay on a yoga mat? Do you play like spa music? Like what? That might
So,
seem like a silly question,
no,
but
it's
I'm just
not.
wondering.
It's not. And there's all forms of meditation. Some people just listen to music and they can walk themselves through a meditation. I prefer myself. I have an app that I listen to. It's Gabby Bernstein. She's like one of my favorites. And it's a guided meditation. And I love her app because it's so user friendly. Every single day, she has a different meditation, multiple ones actually you can choose from. And whatever it is for the day, I just choose the one she's chosen because I feel like, oh, why dig when she's got one right here for me?
I
And
love
it's
that.
amazing because I can't even tell you sometimes, and they're guided. So sometimes she will tell you to lay on the floor or on a yoga mat, or sometimes you're seated in a chair. And it just depends on what her meditation is. And I just sort of follow that. But I love it's my office slash meditation room because it's in the front of the house where the sun comes up. So usually when I'm meditating, it's at that hour where the sun is rising. So like when I'm done with my meditation, the sky looks amazingly beautiful. So it's just so grounding. I love it. And I journal too right after. But for me, I like a guided meditation. And again, some people choose to do their own or just listen to music and get into a meditative state. It's really whatever works for you, honestly.
Yeah. And it's really the purpose is to just clear your mind, right? And
Clear
start the
your mind.
day fresh.
Absolutely. And start the day fresh. And like a lot of times, like I said, with the one that, whatever the one she has for that day, I can't tell you so many times something she'll say in the meditation or something about that during my day, something may happen. And I'm like, it just brings me right back to that meditation and to that grounded space, which I love. Just an easy way to bring yourself back to that peaceful state. Obviously, everybody's day at some point could go astray or whatever, no matter how grounded you start in the morning. When you leave your door, who the heck knows what's going to happen, right? But you'd be surprised how fast you can snap out of that or turn something around that into a positive. It's just,
Mm.
it's pretty powerful. It really is.
Yeah. It helps you see things that happen throughout the crazy, chaotic
Yeah.
day in a
Differently.
different way.
Absolutely. Yes. And just turn things around into the most negative thing really can turn into a positive thing pretty easily sometimes. It's so easy to go down that negative rabbit hole. It's
Yeah.
surrounded by it all the time. Again, social media, whatever, emails. Somebody sends you an email and it's not the way you want to start the day, obviously. But yeah, I myself find it very grounding, and journaling is another thing. So I would say if you don't have time to do both in the morning, and not every, and here's the other thing too, Carrie, meditation is not for everybody. It's not. I know tons of people who have tried it multiple times and they're just like, I can't get my head clear. I can't sit still. And it's not for everybody. Don't get down on yourself because you can't do it, or keep trying. Maybe try a 2-minute meditation or 5-minute meditation if it's something you really want to learn and do. You don't have to start off right away at 15 minutes or
I
20
love
minutes.
the idea that you just shared, though, about doing it guided with Gabby Bernstein's app,
Mhm.
for example, because I think maybe, and this is just me, I don't know if people out there who have tried it and it didn't really work for them, maybe they didn't have that guided.
Right.
Maybe you just don't really know or have trouble grounding yourself
Yes,
into that place where you're not thinking about 100 different things.
exactly right.
But it's just like I feel like I see it as the end of a yoga class when you're laying
Yes,
on the mat and
absolutely.
they guide you through. You can't help but to relax.
Exactly right. That's
So I think the
exactly what
guided
it is.
part might be helpful to people that just have never tried that before.
Yeah, and for any beginner, and whether, there's a million guided yoga meditation apps out there. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of them that are free or you could pay and whatever, it doesn't matter. Find one that's right for you. And you'd be surprised how quickly you can actually get into it. And it's just such a good feeling. Like you just really feel clear and cleansed sometimes, really.
Yeah.
And I do try to journal right after because I feel like when I'm in that state, my pen just flows. And I have to
Yeah.
be,
So talk to us about the journaling. I love that.
yeah. So it's like a big brain dump sometimes. I don't even, honestly, I just write. I don't even think, it's not like, oh, what am I going to write about? Or who am I going to write about? I just open my journal and I let my pen go. Sometimes I read it back and it honestly doesn't even make any sense, but it's
Mm.
whatever was on my mind and coming out and at that time. And it's different, obviously, every single day and every single time you journal. And that's for me. And again, it's everybody's own personal experience, right? So the way I journal and the way you journal and the way somebody else journals is probably very different.
And I think too, like I think back and there was a time in my life where I was going through a pretty hard divorce.
Mhm.
And the reason it was hard for me was because I had a young child and I had a really hard time wrapping my head around being a single mom. And I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to do that.
Mhm.
And journaling during that time. So if there's somebody listening, I think journaling during a time where you have a stressful situation going on in your life is actually so helpful because for me during that time, I was able to look back on what I wrote and it reinforced my decision about what I chose to do.
Yes.
And honestly, I feel like it helped me get through that whole entire very traumatic experience for myself and for my son. And if I hadn't, taken the time to write those things down and to have that journal, I still have it and I read it every now and then I'll read it and I'm like, wow, it really does help you get through
Some
hard
difficult-
times if you're going through a
Absolutely.
very stressful situation.
Absolutely. And like I'm a single mom and was divorced and then went into like a god awful relationship after that. And there were so many things during that time that I wanted to say that I couldn't. I felt like I couldn't speak up at that point in my life. I was much younger. I felt like I didn't have a voice or whatever. So for me, journaling was so therapeutic. It allowed me to say what I needed to say to that person, even though that person never read it and never
Mm.
will. And I burned those journals. That was like a big thing for me because it was a part of my life that it was so toxic. I needed to like truly let it go. And I felt like the only way for me to do that would be to get rid of all of it. And again, that's just a personal experience. Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's just a personal thing where those are your thoughts. Those are your innermost thoughts you could put in your journal. It's your feelings.
And
So,
everybody goes through stuff, and we
yeah,
all get frustrated at work, or we
of
have
course.
stuff going on in our personal life, and being able to write it all down, and
Yep,
it does help it get it out.
absolutely. And on the flip side, it doesn't have to be always something bad you journal about. You might be journaling about your future or where you want to be, and manifesting things and all of that. And that's super powerful too.
I love that.
Write it as though you're doing it and journal about as if it's what's happening today, even though it maybe you don't have that big house you want, but you might journal about it. And maybe in 5 years you might when you look back. Yeah. So journaling is, I would say personally, if you don't have time to do both, just try journaling in the morning. That you could do in a matter of minutes. Take a couple of minutes and sit down in a quiet space and journal. Put your
That I
thoughts.
love that. And I actually was listening to another podcast, and one of the people that were talking was talking about the fact that every night before she went to bed, she would journal
Mhm.
actually by typing. She set up email accounts for her kids so they don't have the
Yeah.
login information for it. But every night before she went to bed, she would email a letter to each of her kids.
Gosh, I
And she
love
said when
that.
they get older, she's going to give them the login information, but it's going to be a whole
Oh
journal
my God.
of, throughout the course of their lives that they're going to have access to. So if
That's
you feel
amazing.
like you
That's
don't have anything
wonderful. I
to
love
write
that.
about, yeah,
Yeah.
you could write a letter to somebody, but you don't have to give it to them right now.
Kind of feeding off of that, one of my great aunts who passed away, she was like a grandmother to me because I lost both my grandmothers when I was an infant. And so, she didn't have any children, stepped in to be that role for my brother and I, and kind of a mom to my mother. And I would write letters to her in my journal sometimes. And it would just make me feel better because I missed her. And so I would just so kind of like the same thing. Yeah. Even though she never was able to read them, although I believe she has. But yeah, it was just nice again to get it out on paper, those feelings and those thoughts. Yeah.
I
So
love that.
journaling is a huge thing too. But as far as my routine goes, so I would say I meditate, I journal, and those two things together, depending on how long the meditation is, maximum 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. So I allot for that time when I wake up in the morning. Again, I'm a morning person. So me getting up at 5:30 is, I don't mind it. And it does allow me the time to do that, and which
Mm.
is important to me. So it grounds me. It starts my day on a positive note. And then from there, I have a gut drink in the morning. I have a protein shake in the morning. But it's funny because it's like every morning I kind of do the same thing and it's the same steps. So it's actually kind of comical, to be
I
honest.
love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
But I wake up I shower every morning. Some people don't like to shower in the morning. They like to shower at night. For me, it wakes me up. I love that fresh feeling. Do my skincare. I do my makeup, do my hair, get dressed. And without fail, I will be late for anything. If I don't make my bed, I can't leave the house without making my bed. That is the craziest thing I know. But it
Agree.
is, I just feel like I'm disheveled if my bed is not made when I leave the house, which,
Yep.
who's seeing it? Nobody, but I know it's part of my routine. And even on my drive to work in the morning, I very seldom listen to the radio. Probably never. I would say mostly never. I either will put a podcast on or something inspirational or something like that. So again, it's just a positive energy all the way till I walk into the doors at work. And I feel for me, it sets the tone for the day. It just makes it more positive, brings me joy, and it's just good to feel good.
I
And
love it. And so how long do you think if someone adopts this type of addition to their morning routine, how long do you think it would take them to start to notice a difference? So if they try this for a week,
oh,
you know,
definitely. I would say
yeah.
yeah, for sure. Because it is pretty powerful. I feel like you're in such a relaxed vibrational state. And when you surround yourself with more positivity, obviously we know that everything around you becomes more positive.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
Yep.
There's no denying that. Like, why not try it at least?
I
Yeah.
love it. So now let's shift to self-care in daily life. Brenda, what would you say self-care means to you beyond bubble baths and day spas and things like that?
For sure, self care for me is being in touch with my true, authentic self. It's being in touch with me, mind, body, soul. Self care is internally for me. Like, how do I feel? And how I'm not feeling good, then how am I going to get myself to feel good? It's not about going to get my nails done. No, I want to feel good inside and my authentic self.
It's a great way to answer because I was going to say, yeah, there's a difference between self-care and self-indulgence.
100%.
I think self-indulgence, yeah, getting my nails
My
done,
nails
getting my
done,
hair
my
done.
hair. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that obviously that makes you feel good. It makes you look good. So you're going to feel good. But deep down, self care is that mind, body, soul connection. Sure.
And the morning routine, I think, really does help with
Yeah.
that.
It grounds you the minute you wake up. And again, even that little bit of gratitude, like I said, just being grateful for something.
So you start your day before you even open your eyes, you remind yourself about something that you're grateful for.
Yep.
And then you're up and you spend 15 to 20 minutes doing meditation. You go straight from that into journaling.
Then I go into do my supplements, I do a protein shake, that part of my self-care too, because that's important, right? What we're putting
Mm-hmm.
in our bodies or what we're putting on our bodies. And honestly, Carrie, too, the older I've gotten, now we have more mature skin, things like that, it makes a difference. It truly makes a difference. I had a huge shift over the last 5 years between, 50 to 55, where I am way more aware of what's in the products I use and what I'm taking in, like what kind of supplements I want, things that are organic. I want things that are whole. I want my skincare to be that way. I want my makeup to be that way. We don't have 20-year-old skin anymore or whatever. And it does. Those
Mm-hmm.
are all things that affect the way you feel. It just is. Body absorbs all of that.
Yes.
It's really, really important, especially the older we get. And I'm not saying, everybody has to go out there and dump all their skincare, dump all their makeup products. No, I didn't do that. But as I started replacing things, I really became aware of, okay, I can choose this that's full of synthetic stuff, or maybe it is a little bit more expensive, but it's all natural and it's healthier and it's better for my skin or it's better for my gut or whatever. And over time, I have done that. And
Mm-hmm.
really, I'm aware of all of that. And even eating and stuff like that. I try to buy organic stuff. I
That makes
feel,
a big difference. I was actually just talking to my sister about that because she said she just got rid of all of her plastic and her Teflon pans
yes,
and
that
she's
too.
replacing everything with
Glass.
glass and
Yeah.
yeah,
I did the
yeah.
same thing with that. And again, it's not like, oh my gosh, go and dump everything that you have and spend thousands and thousands of dollars. No, obviously we're not going to do that. But as things break or as things crack, especially plastic, it gets so nasty. So I've just slowly started turning to glass containers,
Yes.
the plastic containers, or what I drink out of, those little things. It all adds up. It really does.
Yeah.
The more you do it, the more you realize, wow, like I just feel so much better.
That's a great point as you're replacing things, like even starting in your kitchen. If you
Yeah,
need more storage containers, buy glass ones
buy
instead of
glass.
plastic.
Exactly right.
Because I read recently about that, and especially if you're putting stuff in the microwave, you don't want to reheat things in plastic
No,
because there are little molecules of
Yeah,
the plastic that get into the food you're eating. And
exactly right.
yeah.
And like we said, skincare is a big thing too. You're absorbing whatever you put on your skin, whether it's your skincare routine or your makeup or whatever, it's going into your bloodstream. It affects
Hmm. I don't
supplements.
think people think about that. The fact that, yeah, and it's true. And if you think about prescription patches for
Yeah.
pain and prescription patches for the smoking
Yeah,
cessation and things like that, yes, because your skin
is
is the
absorbing.
largest organ of your body and it
Right.
absorbs things.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, whatever you put on your skin is getting inside of your body.
So even with that, I'm cautious as to lotions and things sometimes with a lot of perfume or anything like that. I try to buy things that don't have anything in it except something that's whole, organic, and makes a big difference for sure. For sure.
Yeah, even like deodorant. I was
Deodorant.
surprised because you'll see if you're standing in CVS or whatever looking at the deodorant, most deodorant they have metals in there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that gets absorbed into your body. So
Body. And that's right next to your lymph nodes. So anybody prone to cancers and stuff like that, it's huge. And so one thing at a time, even if you just start making those small changes,
yeah,
you run out of your lotion, you run out of your face cream, look at the ingredients of what you're buying the next time. Don't just buy
yeah,
it because you've been using it for the last 10, 15, 20 years. Look at
yeah.
what you're putting on yourself. Like supplements. There's a big difference between the supplements we put in our body.
A
Between
lot of them have synthetics and fillers and all of that. And if you ever take a vitamin and it makes your stomach upset,
100%.
it's probably the fillers and the synthetic ingredients that are in there. And that's got to tell you something right there. So,
Yeah, I'm able to take my supplements with a glass of water every morning and before I even put a piece of food in my mouth. It's a lot. And I know people that
that's,
can't do that because they need to have food in their stomach before they take something. So look at the ingredients, see what's in there.
yeah,
You know.
definitely. I
Mm-hmm.
know you've done a lot of research around that. So what we'll do is we'll put some information in the notes section
Sure.
for people to check out what you have done and researched that works
Yeah,
for you, and people can maybe check into it for
absolutely.
themselves.
Absolutely.
So, in shifting to the mind body connection, I know you mentioned the practices that you do in the morning that help manage stress and anxiety. Incorporating journaling and meditation, even 5 minutes of journaling is good. So, really, anybody can take anywhere from 15 minutes to do both or a half an hour, whatever works
You
for
don't have to
them.
do them at the same time. So if
Yeah.
you don't have that time in the morning, maybe you meditate in the morning and journal in the afternoon, or journal in the morning and meditate before you go to bed, which is another thing too. Like sometimes if I do have like a really stressful day, just because I meditated in the morning doesn't mean I might not meditate again before I go to bed. Or just because I journaled in the morning, I might journal twice a day. There are a lot of times where I journal more than once a day. And it might just bring me back down to that relaxed state if I've had like a lot going on or really stressed or something like that before I go to bed versus turning on the television. I might fall asleep sometimes to a guided meditation. That I do a lot.
I love that. Sometimes,
Yeah.
to unwind at night, I'll do Pandora and I'll do
Yeah.
play spa music and
Yep.
it just helps,
Absolutely. It
Get
helps.
off the
Yeah.
social media.
I
You
was
should
just
not
going to
be on
say that.
social media
You
before
should
bed.
not. So
Yeah.
2 times a day, right before you go to bed, and when you first wake up in the morning, are like the worst times to be on social media. Really and truly. It's just you don't want to end your day that way, and you really don't want to start your day that way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that's probably what most people do these
I
days,
can
which is kind
guarantee.
of crazy.
And sometimes even watching TV can make you a little bit more angst depending on what you're watching or whatever. So if you don't have the time, try a guided meditation when you're going to bed, when you're
Yeah.
laying in your bed. You don't have to be sitting, you don't have to be in a room, you just need to be in a quiet space. And
Yeah.
that stillness you'll receive. Like it just is. That's all you need is quiet.
Yes, I agree. And I think too, if people feel like they don't have time, you really need to look at the things that you're choosing to do. So if you're choosing to watch Netflix or you're choosing to scroll on social media, maybe just trade one of those things and try
Absolutely.
something that is self-care instead. And I think that even trying it for a few days might be beneficial.
Yeah. And honestly, people are on social media for hours. This could be like a 15, 20-minute thing. So, meditating and journaling, that might be
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes where you're scrolling through social media. You look at the clock, and all of a sudden, you've been on for an hour, 2 hours. So if you have time to do that, right?
Exactly. And everybody, I think, has the ability to go into the screen time on their phone. It's in their
Yes.
settings.
Yes. It's
And look
shocking.
at how much time you're spending on your cell phone every day.
Shocking, right? Shocking.
Yes,
Agree.
that's a
Absolutely.
good point. That's a good point. So, if we could offer some practical tips for people listening, what
Mhm.
advice would you give to someone who feels overwhelmed and they don't know where to start? So, there's maybe some small, realistic steps that we just talked about a couple. Give up the Netflix,
Yep.
give up the social media or spend a little less time doing it.
And just give it a try. Just try it. 5 days, 7 days, a week of allotting that time, right? Whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon. So I think a routine that you can do the same time every day helps. So if you're a morning person, maybe start it in the morning. Or if your morning is not your thing, try doing it before you go to bed. Give yourself 7 days. You can do anything for 7 days. Let's be real. You can, right? And 15, 20 minutes out of every day is nothing. And see how you feel. I think people will be really surprised.
I agree. And I think that consistency is important. And like you said, it doesn't have to be in the morning. If somebody is not a morning person, they can carve out time at night. But I think what's important is looking at how you spend your time in a day.
Yes.
How much time do you spend on your phone? You can look up the screen time in your settings on your phone and see how much time you're on your phone. Are you spending time binge watching TV shows on Netflix? If you're in a place where you feel like you have a need to reduce stress and get more self care into your routine, prioritizing how you're spending your time is really the first thing that
Huge.
needs to be done.
Listen, we live in a world full of stress. Everybody has some, it's just sad, but we do. So I think doing as much as you can for yourself, because there's just so much out there. I mean, we're faced with every aspect of what's going on in the world because of social media and the news and everything else. We do need to focus on ourselves and we do need to take care of ourselves. And, mental health is a big thing. It's an issue, right? We know this. So doing the best we can and taking small steps is makes a world of difference. It really does.
I agree. So establishing a routine, whether it's in the morning or in the evening, it really might change also the way that you respond to stress throughout the day. It might change the relationships that you have with people. So you're less likely to be snippy.
That's another thing, you really have to evaluate too is what kind of people do you align yourself with? That's another thing that I really looked at even for me over the course of these last 5 years. I want to align with people that have the same values and have the same outlook and you want to surround yourself with more positive people. And sometimes that means letting go of relationships. And that's not an easy thing to do. But people do
Yeah.
come into our lives for certain reasons and certain seasons. And, people come for a reason, a season, blah, blah, blah. But if that's no longer working or fulfilling you and bringing you joy, sometimes those things you need to let go of, right?
I'm glad that you said that because when you think about relationships, I think what's important to remember is they should be reciprocal. So
Yes.
you shouldn't be the person that's always giving, giving, giving and meeting the other person constantly where they are and they never come halfway. When I say that, I don't mean distance wise, I mean give and take, reciprocal. So
Yep.
if there's somebody that's constantly complaining about everything, and I don't mean like a friend that vents every once in a while, because we all need that.
Of
We need
course.
somebody to vent. That's very different.
Very different. But
Yeah.
there are people you may be close with that are just negative and in a negative space. As we grow, sometimes a relationship that worked at one time may not work for you now. And it's okay to let that go. It is because if it's not serving you and it's not bringing you joy, you shouldn't hold on to that, right? It's always easy. We know this. It's not. That's super hard to do. But in the long run, might not be easy in the beginning, but in the long run, you realize, wow, I feel like a weight was just lifted off of me.
I was in a relationship that really taught me that you do become your environment sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you're in a relationship that's toxic, it doesn't have to be physically abusive.
Oh,
It
mental.
could be mentally and emotionally abusive. And that changes who you are because you respond differently to things.
Yep.
You become, we all know that when we get frustrated and somebody's picking at you all the time or saying nasty things to you or hurtful things to you, sometimes we'll say them back, and that's not who you are.
Correct.
So that's my whole point in talking about becoming your environment. That's a true thing. So whether you surround yourself with people who are positive and who reciprocate the relationship instead of the negativity all the time, there's science that proves that it literally has the ability to change who you are,
Absolutely.
either in a negative way or in a positive way.
Correct. And again, like you said, that doesn't mean holding some space for a friend who's in need. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about the day in and the day out of somebody who's just got a weight attached to your ankle. It's really looking and digging deep and saying, I need to let this go. I need to cut this cord and I need to let this go.
The people who we surround ourselves with have the ability to change our stress level, either amplify it or bring it down. They change our productivity.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be either negative or positive. It really does change so many things that impact your overall well-being.
That's just all part of the journey of being your authentic self. Who do I want to be? Like, who's Carrie? Yeah, you're a mom, or you're an executive, you're an entrepreneur, you're this, you're that. But who are you inside? Those are just the terms that define your roles or whatever. But who are you internally? Who are you authentically? We all want to be the best version of that.
Yes. So for people out there who think they're too busy to take time for themselves, I think it's so important to sit down and really look at that. Absolutely. Because it impacts your health. It impacts your relationships. It impacts truly everything.
Everything. Your just overall self. And again, it's just once you start feeling good, you're like, it's really good to feel good. You don't realize sometimes how bad you feel until you start feeling good.
That is so true.
Oh my gosh, I could wake up and I'm happy today. I'm not like, oh God, I got to get up and this and we all know stuff happens throughout the day and throughout our life. But it makes a difference in the way you handle those things too.
You could give one golden nugget around self-care. What would it be?
I would say life is truly precious. It just is. So take the time you need, make those little changes, and just be the best version of you. And whether that's taking the 5 minutes to meditate or journal. Sometimes when you journal, you realize who you really are too. Things come out on that page and you're like, wow, but you're worthy. We're all worthy. And that's a big thing too. I think we often forget that, or we put that aside. Know your worth and believe in your worth. And to me, that's like, powerful.
I love it. This is really making me think about the fact that I definitely need to set time for myself. And I know there's too much screen time on my phone. I can deduct and make more time for myself if I take some of that away. And I think that really everybody listening probably has the ability to do that.
Yes.
Carve time out for yourself.
15 minutes in an entire day is really nothing.
Yeah. And a lot of times too, we hear about how women especially are always like taking care of everybody else. Yes. And they never take care of themselves. So are you going for your annual physicals? Yes. Are you doing the things that you need to do? It's like they say on the airplane that, you have to put your mask on yourself before assisting.
Yes. Assisting somebody else. Right. That's so true. And it's all about that self-worth too, because I think a lot of times, and I know for myself, I did have a couple of not so great relationships, and that tore me of my self-worth. You just have that voice over and over in your head of hearing all this negative stuff that's been drilled into you. You lose your voice and you lose all of that. And that's kind of scary, right? And yes, I have a daughter. I want my daughter to be the best version of herself. And I want to show her the ways to do that and be a role model. And I always say to her, I want you to be able to sit across from that male boss and own that interview and have a voice and speak up. That doesn't mean be rude, it just means be confident and know your worth, right?
Know your worth. Yep. Advocate for yourself. Know your worth.
And have a voice and don't be afraid.
I know that there's going to be people out there who needed the extra reinforcement.
You all can do it. I promise.
Yeah. If we can help a few people, then
Yep.
what we spent the time doing this for is all well worth it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So thank you so much,
Fun.
Brenda.
Thank you. This was so much fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. Loved it.
Thanks for listening today. If this episode sparked something in you, please share it with a friend, leave a comment or a review, and reach out and let me know what resonated. Remember, no matter what age or stage of life you're in, you can pivot. And always remember, the second half of life is not a winding down. It's a waking up. Please follow or subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our podcast family. Let's keep showing up and being the best version of ourselves. Until next time, take care.